some nodding, which is a good sign. So I'll start. It was really helpful. So first of all, thank you. It was helpful putting this slide together because these few slides, and there's a few. Sorry, but it helped me really work out what we've achieved in the last 4 weeks, because it is only 4 weeks. It feels like a lot longer, and not only does it feel a lot longer, it's also a bit of a whirlwind. It's happened without much thought. Everything has been reacting, and unfortunately, this campaign in no way, shape or form, in no way has anything been really planned. It's all just happened in the moment. So it's been quite interesting to work in that way, but we are now getting to a point where we can start doing a bit of thinking and planning. So what is it? I'll start here. So on the 17th of March, I was talking to 3 organisations, one in Hartlepool, which is in the northeast of England, one in Birkenhead, which is over towards the Liverpool, and one in Stockport, which is near Manchester. And these communities were telling me, yes, there's problems with food. Yes, there's problems with access to basic supplies like nappies and things like that for children. But the biggest issue we had related to connectivity. And when children are at home, when families are at home together, what we were hearing at the time was that the first thing that will happen is people will stop paying for broadband, for internet, because they can't afford it. And just to put that in some sense behind that, we heard yesterday a story of a mum who had 2 teenage daughters at home, and she's paying £40 a week on credit to top up the data so her children can get online and learn through homeschooling. So because obviously, if you don't have a monthly tariff, you have to pay as you go and keep topping up. It's a lot more expensive, and the children were eating twice a day and she was only eating once a day, because actually she needed to save her money to pay to get online. So it's a big issue. We put our first tweet out on the 18th of March, you can see, and that first tweet, shall I say, reached over 12,000 people. And the tweet was, at that point, we didn't really know what we were asking for. We just wanted people to be able to get online. We wanted to create a largest open Wi-Fi network. We wanted to create a network so communities could get connected and keep connected during a time of social disconnection. And we then thought, well, what do we do next? So, we put this tweet out. We've put ourselves out there. We should actually do something. So we decided to launch an independent website called operationwifi.co.uk. The reason for that is because we didn't want it to be community organisers leading that campaign. We wanted it to look like it was an independent organisation. We wanted to give it that sense of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like sense of independence, but also a sense of importance, because it was its own thing. It wasn't this thing that Community Organisers was doing. What we also saw in the UK was lots of organisations trying to get the spotlight onto them because of the COVID-19 crisis and the amazing things they were doing. We thought, actually, let's put the spotlight onto something new, which rather than try to get the attention ourselves, because then that way it won't look like we're trying to do the same as everybody else. So we launched a website on the 20th of March, and we launched a campaign website on the day after on this website called 38 Degrees, which exists in the UK, which helps you to build campaigns. It's a very difficult campaign to run online because the people who you want to sign it aren't online. So, and we can't go to those people in person. So it's a challenge to run that campaign. But by launching the campaign and by launching the website, what happened was three national partners got in touch with us and said, we sign up. We would like to be part of this. And you'll see in the next slide how quickly this happened. So Keyring, who are a national charity supporting disabled people, the local area coordination network, who work alongside health and look at how you can support people to come together around health issues at a very local level, and camarados, which support people who are with what they would call lived experience, so people who are suffering from alcohol abuse, addiction, things like that. They're just a network of people, and they support those people to build community. They joined us, and as I say, when I say it happened quickly, you'll see that on the 21st of March, so only 3 or 4 days later, Danny Kruger, who is an MP, a government MP, a close friend and advisor to the Prime Minister, took notice of what we are doing, and asked me via Twitter, Nick, please email me the details, including the cost of this. So all of a sudden, government within 4 days were going, well, we want to know how much it would cost if we were to roll out Wi-Fi across across our UK communities. At that point, we were thinking, well, hang on, we've not really thought this through. Okay, so we spent the weekend working out actually what would be a better ask of government than just creating an open Wi-Fi network. So we came up with 2 very simple asks. And so we'll go back to that slide. Apologies, I've lost that. The 2 very simple asks. The first ask was to open up the Wi-Fi hotspots. Now, I don't know if you have many, I think they're across Europe, the free open Wi-Fi hotspots. So our mobile phone companies have them. Our broadband providers like BT and Virgin Media and Sky also have them. So when you're in cafes or when you're at home, you can sometimes connect to an open Wi-Fi network because it uses the home Wi-Fi network. People at home can lend a little bit of their I don't fully understand it, but they can lend a little bit of their Wi-Fi network to an open network. So we said, but they're very expensive. They're about £2 for 30 minutes and about £40 a month. So what we were saying was, open them up. Get the companies who have these hundreds of thousands of hotspots across the UK to open them up and make them free for the period of COVID-19. That was the first ask. And the second ask was to lift the data limits on pay-as-you-go and rolling pay monthly tariffs, because we know that many people who are on low incomes use pay-as-you-go SIM cards and the 30-day tariffs, but we know that they're the most expensive. So if you want data on those tariffs, it's a lot more expensive than if you sign up to a 12-month or an 18-month or a 24-month contract. The problem is people in low incomes can't sign up to those contracts because they don't have credit ratings, they don't have bank accounts, and they really struggle. So we came up with these 2 very simple asks. And we then started to collect stories. So we started to target the campaign around those people who we knew would be impacted. Schools, because we knew that children were going to we'd seen what happened in Italy, we'd seen what happened in other parts of Europe, and we'd seen that actually schools were going to close. So we started to target our campaign at schools. We started to target our campaigns around welfare, because we knew that people would struggle to get universal credit and get their welfare payments from government, because you have to be online to be able to get those payments. And also we targeted the campaign around those who are homeless, because we know those people who are homeless will be most affected by this as well, particularly when the government was trying to find accommodation for those homeless people. But if those homeless people weren't able to communicate or connect with anybody, then they would nowhere find the accommodation that they would need. So we started to collect stories. And on the 23rd of March, so again, only 2 days after our tweet from the Danny Kruger, we heard from Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, who basically called for the lockdown. The 23rd of March was the lockdown in the UK. And that was at a point then we decided to put our tweet out. And a tweet which basically said, if the government is locking down the country, we need action now on Operation Wi-Fi. And you'll see that that tweet reached over 50,000 people in one evening. So it all of a sudden it just proliferated. It went everywhere, and we weren't ready for that. But as a positive, as a result of that tweet and other tweets we'd been building, Shelter, who are a national homelessness charity in the UK. They're absolutely massive. They are yeah, they're huge. Sort of £64 million turnover charity, and Teach First, who support thousands of young people to become teachers every year. So new graduates become teachers, and they've got lots of private financial support from big, large corporates. Decided that they too wanted to join our campaign. And then on the 29th of March, a bit later, we heard some announcements. We got an announcement from government, which was that the telecom industry was going to support vulnerable people by lifting data limits on broadband and by actually creating tariff deals that would support the most vulnerable. We were delighted. We shared it. We tweeted it. We said, this is great. Government is listening. And then we looked at the detail. And the detail wasn't as good as the headline. The detail was that actually you had to have a fixed broadband connection at home in order to get the unlimited data, and the tariffs were only available for certain people. So it was all of a sudden, actually those most vulnerable, those most on the edge weren't included. By the 31st of March, so a couple of days later, we started to share more of our stories. And this was the first time that our story was picked up organically by a big funder in the UK who shared this story and introduced more people to it. Through that, building that momentum, we then came across a survey of teachers. And this survey was of 7,500 teachers in the UK, a snapshot, and they highlighted the need for the campaign by saying that broadband should be available for every child. So 75% of 7,500 teachers who were asked identified that broadband would be a key solution to tackle the problems around homeschooling, particularly for those children who are most vulnerable. And by us building that momentum, by us putting those stories out, we managed to get even more partners joining us. So we found the Apple Collective, who joined the campaign. The Fair Education Alliance joined the campaign. Eden Project Communities, Asylum Matters, who deal with asylum seekers. And then this amazing company called Jangala, who actually provide Wi-Fi in humanitarian disaster zones, and actually were found in the Calais jungle. So actually they actually were founded in the Calais jungle. So these more partners joined. And what have we seen? Well, we've seen that there's been some action taken by the corporates and government. So you'll see on the right-hand side that EE, which is a big mobile provider in the UK, have provided free mobile data to anybody who's working, to NHS key workers. Well, that's okay, but if you're not an NHS key worker, you're still not entitled. And the government have created free laptops and data for children, disadvantaged pupils who are hit during the lockdown. That announcement was on Sunday, the 19th of April, so only a couple of days ago. But as I said, those two things do sound better than what they actually are. So where are we going with this? Well, we have a joint letter going to the Secretary of State from all of those organisations that represent, actually, if you add up the numbers of people that are connected into them, it's into the hundreds of thousands of people. We are running a media engagement campaign now. We've had interest from the ITV on on Friday just gone, and they were doing some filming on Monday. I gave an interview to the Guardian newspaper yesterday. We're working with Jangala to work out a cost of a solution, and then raising funds through a crowdfunding campaign in London. And that's where we're working with local partners to campaign and to develop solutions at a local level. So actually, where we might not get the national push, we may be able to identify key individuals in communities that we know of, and start to do a fundraising campaign to get that solution into those people who need it. So that was a bit of a quick tour of what we've been doing and what we've been up to. In summary, this is just about ensuring that those communities who are hardest hit by COVID-19 can keep connected at a time when we have significant social disconnection. And I know the measures are lifting, and I know that this isn't forever, but actually I think what will come of this is the divide between those that have and those that haven't will become greater even when the measures have been lifted, because actually there's an awful lot of children who've missed out on education, there's an awful lot of people who will have missed out on welfare, and there's an awful lot of opportunities that will still be presented online to people and they won't be able to access them. Is that okay, Balin?